I'm the underdog with the heroic heart. I'm Eric Jones Jr. I have to keep pushing for my kids. If I give up, what's that leave them with? Nothing. I have to understand that it's bigger than me. That it's not about me when I wake up and go to work. It's not about me when I'm reading to educate myself. It's not about me when I'm practicing my speeches. It's not about me. It's about my family. Hey, you're now tuned in to Underdog Talk. I'm your host, Eric Jones Jr., the underdog with the heroic heart, and I have conversations with successful underdogs. And today, the successful underdog is Mike B. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you, sir.
All right. Can you pronounce your last name? I didn't want to jack it up, so I let him do it.
No, that's good. It's Mike Boccia.
Yep. Nice to meet you. Before we get into today's conversation, today's episode is brought to you by Christian DeWan Clothing Line. That's me and my son's personal clothing line. We have t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts. If you use the promo code Underdog Talk, you get 15% off. Underdog is spelled UNDDAWG, and you get 15% off. So we're going to get into today's conversation with Mike. And Mike has been a serial entrepreneur since forever. He's been over 25 years, so that's the majority of my life. So how did you become an entrepreneur at an early age?
Yeah, great question. Because, I think a lot of people want to become an entrepreneur. They want to be self-employed. They want to be in control of their own business, their own life, their own destiny, but they don't know where to start, right? So for me, it was out of necessity, I guess, because I was 15 years old and I lived in not a beach town, maybe 30 minutes from the beach, but me and my friends, all we want to do is go to the beach all summer. So I didn't want to have a job, but I need some money, right? So I said, well, if I start my own business, then I could do it when I want and still go to the beach. So it was kind of an odd way to get into business ownership. But then I used to have to cut my own lawn for my dad, right? That was one of my chores. And I said, well, if I can cut my lawn, I can cut other people's lawns. So I just went knocking on doors and said, hey, can I, cut your lawn for $10 and whatever it was. And it just kept growing and growing, but it allowed me to set my own schedule. So I would do it in the morning, go to the beach, come back, do it in the afternoon. And that's how I started my first business. But then I realized quickly that, okay, I was in control of my own income, my own schedule, my own destiny, right? If I want to make more money, just go and get more business. So, and then I could hire somebody else to cut the lawns for me. And I would, basically that's how it started. So, like I said, a strange reason. I don't know if you ever heard that a person started a business because they want to go to the beach. But
I mean, a lot of times when we're kids, it's a reason why we want some money that maybe our parents can't give us or they're not going to give us. So I definitely understand that part of it. But sometimes people go the wrong route at a young age and they do make money the wrong way. But a lot of people back when I was a kid, like that's what they did. They got the lawnmower, they was cutting the grass. In the wintertime, we were shoveling snow. So I definitely understand that part of it. We never took it to like our own bit. Some people did, but didn't take it to our own business. It was just something we wanted to do to get extra money. So you started that early. You understood business. You was like, oh, I can get my own money. I can work my own schedule. So when you graduated high school, was it, hey, I'm going to college, or was it like, let me figure out what business I'm going to go after?
No, it was actually, it was in college, but then I started another business in college. So back when I was in college, that's when they really started clamping down on DUIs. And, back then it wasn't a big deal, but then they really started clamping down. And then a lot of my friends started, going out drinking, and getting in trouble. And I said, man, there's got to be a way we can help this situation and make money at the same time. So me and a college roommate, we started a limousine company. And so now, we have a limo, we can rent it out to a group of people. They're safe, no one's going to get hurt, and we can make some money doing it. And when the limo's not being used, we actually get to enjoy the limo. So there's always, business can be fun, right? And it can be profitable, plus it can be fun and beneficial to everybody. And that's when it wins. And that did very well. We had a great time doing it, made some money. And when my roommate graduated, he moved back to Rhode Island. We sold the company and we both moved on. Then I moved on to I owned a nightclub. I opened a nightclub when I was 21, a restaurant when I was 23. So it just escalated from there. But I always knew that I needed to work for myself. I needed to be in charge. I needed to be in control of my life.
I love it because you understood, like, I'm going to just do whatever I can have fun with that benefits me on the fun side, but I know I can make money off it. So you guys kind of started almost Uber a little bit before Uber. It
Yeah,
just you guys had the limo, but that was smart. That was a smart thing to do because in college there's so many different ways you can make extra money and like have a business just because you think outside the box. That's just thinking outside the box. All right, I'm in a college town. People they gonna get these DUIs. They're going to parties. Let me help them out, make the money. You could probably still go to the party, leave 30, 40 minutes early, have your stuff ready. Hey, we outside ready to go. So that was very smart. You say you had a nightclub at 23. How was
21.
that? 21. So how was that being a 21-year-old running a nightclub?
Yeah, that was it's funny because when I say these things, I live with landscape and a limousine and a nightclub and a restaurant, everyone thinks, oh man, you got the golden touch. Like hell, you know, you talk about being an underdog, Eric. You know that nothing in life is easy, nothing is simple, nothing goes. I've never talked to one business owner that says, oh yeah, I've never had anything screw up, I've never had any issues, everything went perfectly. Everybody I've talked to has always talked about how hard it was. I've never, ever, ever have I talked to a successful business owner that didn't have hard times that they had to overcome. And mine was the same way. There were times where the restaurant was doing great. And I remember this like it was yesterday. The restaurant was doing well, and then one day, all of a sudden, they started doing construction right in front of the restaurant. They started tearing up the streets, and the street was shut down. No one can get to the restaurant. I said, "You got to be kidding me! We're literally shut down now for a month or two until they open the street back up." It was like, so I mean, it was not easy. It was not a straight shot to the top by any stretch. So I want to make sure when people hear my story, I always like to emphasize the fact that because I don't like that stuff you see online. You see it on Instagram or whatever. Everybody's posing with the Ferraris and the jets and making it look like, oh, this is easy. Look at me. I hate when they mislead people, entrepreneurs or business owners or just anyone just trying to make some of themselves and make them think it's easy. It ain't easy. It's not easy at all, but it's worth it. Nothing in life that's worth it is easy, right? You know that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So yeah, I did start at 21. I had the nightclub. I was actually 20. And then they raised the drinking age, and it was in New York from 19 to 21. I said, well, I can't even drink in my own nightclub. So we opened in July. My birthday was at the end of July. So it was interesting. But, that was interesting, too, because there were a lot of people that say you couldn't do it, right? I couldn't do it. You can't open a nightclub when you're 20 years old, when you're 21 years old, and you must have daddy's money. No, I didn't have a dime of daddy's money. I wrote up a business plan one day when I was sitting in the limo. I was actually driving the limo one day for a customer. They went into a meeting in New York City. I'm sitting there waiting in the limo, right? And I had a couple hours to kill while they're up in their meeting. And I remember I was sitting down by the South Street Seaport area, and I'm sitting in the car, and I just had an idea. I started dreaming of an idea for a nightclub. I said, it gets cold in New York City, in New York in the wintertime, and everybody wants to go on vacation. Where do they want to go? They want to go to the tropics, right? They always want to go to someplace warm and have fun. And I just started writing this plan. You walk in the front door and you see a giant fish tank with exotic fish in it, and then you see a waterfall and you see tropical birds, and the bar is a tiki hut, and you feel like you're transported into the tropics. And then I went to another gentleman who ran restaurants. I said, hey, what do you think of this? Do you want to do it? Let's do it together. Let's be partners. And he said, yeah, this is unbelievable. He had some experience running restaurants and nightclubs, but neither one of us had money. So then I was, it's funny when you talk about the law of attraction, the secret. And I was out to dinner with my girlfriend at the time, her sister and her sister's boyfriend. And he started talking and said, hey, so what are you doing? What's next in your life? And I said, well, I've got plans to open a club. And I just started telling him about it. And he said, you looking for investors? I said, yeah. He said, how much you need? And I told him, and he said, I'll give you that. And boom, we were ready to go. So that part sounds easy too, but sometimes things fall into place when you put in the work and the effort to make it fall into place, right? I found the location. I went to work on the business plan, everything priced out. I had the whole cost, everything. The cost was all in writing. So he knew I knew what I was doing, and this wasn't a fly by night thing. And he said, "Yeah, I'll invest in that." So, um, but yeah, a lot of people say you couldn't do it, right? But I want to prove them wrong. So sometimes that's the motivation too. I just say, "Hey, you know what? Watch me, watch me."
Yeah, I love it. I love because you broke down like how entrepreneurship really is. It's hard as hell. It's not easy at all. And it's funny, like what you were saying, like people don't show that. And I was talking to a lady, I was on her podcast yesterday, and I was like, when I do my videos, because I do motivational videos, I'm like, I'm talking to myself. Like I'm really like helping myself. I didn't been there and something happened one day and I was like, I just put out a video about that. I can't do that because I was talking to myself. And sometimes you got to show people where you start off at. Like, eventually I want to have a studio and all this, but hey, I got different backgrounds. I'm in different places. I'm in my room. I'm in here. I know how to put a green screen and all those different things. But you got to show people where you start because that'll help somebody out. Like that'll help somebody out. And then what you were saying about the investor, it's because you had your plan out. You wrote it out. You knew exactly how much. You could have been like, oh yeah, I got a nightclub and I'm gonna start it. Where you gonna start it at? Well, I don't know, somewhere downtown. And how much you need? I don't know, 50,000. And you might need more than that, but you had everything in order. Because like you said, your the attraction. Like he knew you was on. He knew you was on business. He knew what. Like, oh, okay, so he really know what he's doing. Okay, I'm gonna help him because you could have came and not had nothing planned and missed the opportunity because you weren't doing what you needed to do. You didn't put in the work. And just like you said, you were working somewhere else, and you were like, I got this idea, and then that idea got you out the door from one business to another business because the other one stopped. So I love like how you basically said like people gonna count you out. People are gonna say you can't do it. Why? Why can't I do it? Oh, because you can't do it. Oh, you're not able to, so you're gonna put it on me. No, don't put that on me.
That's right.
I can do whatever I want to do and I'm capable of. And that's a lot of times what the underdog is. Like nobody believes in you when you're the underdog. When you're at the underdog stage, nobody believes in you. Nobody like, oh yeah, whatever. Oh, you doing that? Okay, that's cute. Until you seem like you came up overnight. You didn't come up overnight. It probably took years to get to that point. So after you got the nightclub, how long did it last and what like kind of ended it? Like how did it end? Did it end on a good note? Did you transfer to another business or was it like, oh shit, this just ain't working no more?
No, well, you made a couple of good points. When people tell you you can't do it. That's when a lot of people get they just get tossed aside, right? They lose faith. They believe when people tell them they can't. And it's funny because the people that told me I couldn't do it when we had the grand opening, they're the ones that came and said, "I knew you could do it. I'm so proud of you." Right after it's done, right after the goal is achieved, you're a cheerleader. So it's interesting how people are, and sometimes they don't do it out of any bad will, right? They think they're doing it to protect you, right? They think if you do this, you're going to lose money, you're going to disappoint yourself, you're going to do this. So they think they're trying to protect you, but in reality, they're not. It's just squashing your dreams. So you got to be strong enough to say, okay, I get the haters, and that's okay. The haters are going to hate, and that's all right. I'm going to stick with my plan, and I'm going to win no matter what. So, but yeah, so the nightclub did very well. And then we took on a third partner, and we opened a restaurant as well. 2 years later, so I was 23 at the time. We had a restaurant, still had the nightclub. Then the recession hit back then. The construction started in front of the restaurant. To be honest with you, I was totally burnt out. I was exhausted. I was 25 years old, and so I just went to my partners and I said, "Look, just buy me out. I just need some downtime. I just want to go and just relax for a little bit." And then I stayed in the restaurant bar industry for 18 years. And I did well. I mean, I didn't own a place after that, but I ran some of the biggest nightclubs and restaurants in the country in Los Angeles and South Florida, New York. So I was doing good. But as you know, sometimes good is the enemy of great, right? You get comfortable and you think, well, yeah, I could work harder, but things are okay now. But I mean, are you living up to your full potential? I always thought, you know what, I've got greatness in me and this is not great. This is good. and the bills were paid. I bought a house. You know, I had a wife, a baby at the time, and I think life was good. But I said, this isn't what I was meant to be. And so I got into the financial industry at that time. And I said, let me just go into something different, something more stable, more professional. Um, and I was living in Southern California at the time. Um, the company that I started with in the financial industry didn't have any presence in Ohio. And my ex-wife, or my wife at the time, was from Ohio. And I said, you know, let's move to Ohio and I can open offices there and kind of spearhead the growth of the company in that area. She did not want to go back to Ohio. She had a whole bunch of family there, and she was, I mean, it's cold in Ohio, right? We're living in Southern California. It's beautiful. And she said, I don't want to go. I said, I really think we need to. It's the best thing for our family, for our future. We sold the house, moved to Ohio in January, the middle of the winter. And, you know, again, I'm starting a business from scratch in an industry that I just got into. And that's hard, right? Like we talked about, it's freaking hard. So hard that, you know, I promised her the moon, right? I made some big commitments and I thought I could do it. And I get there and I move my family cross country and I'm not making any money. And I'm working long 12, 15, 18-hour days. And then we had our second baby and I'm busting my butt, you know, and I'm never home. And my daughter was sick. My new baby was sick. And now I got no money. I got medical bills coming in. I have a wife who's exhausted. I have a baby who's screaming all the time and I can't pay the bills. And I'm thinking I'm supposed to be the man here. And I just uprooted my family and I'm failing. You know, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be winning for my family. I mean, it got to the point, Eric, where I would file bankruptcy. It was bad. And the thing that turned it around, I mean, I can go on for the whole 45 minutes just about how bad it was. But at one point, I just submitted and said, okay, I'm going to just find someone who's doing what I want to do, who is successful, and I'm going to do exactly what they tell me to do. And I just found a mentor. And I just said, look, tell me what I got to do. Just tell me. And the company at the time, I remember this like it was yesterday, they ran a contest. And the contest was called A Hero Will Rise. And somewhat about the name of that contest. And it was, you know, if you win this contest, if you do the ABC, you get a trip to somewhere or whatever. The trip wasn't even the thing. It was A Hero Will Rise, right? The name of that just felt like an arrow pierced me right in the heart. I said, damn it, that's what I need to do. I'm the hero and I need to rise. And I found the mentor and I said, look, just tell me what I got to do. I'll do it. And I did. I followed his direction every step of the way. And within 2 years, I had turned everything around. I mean, we were living in a tiny little house. We sold that, bought a big brick, beautiful house. I mean, within 5 years, I was one of the top guys in the company, and they were flying me all over the country in their private planes to speak at other offices and train other offices and speak on stage in front of 15,000 people at the national convention. And it's just amazing how quickly things can turn around if you never give up and you work your ass off, right? But it's not only working your ass off, it's working your ass off doing the right things. And, you know, for a lot of people, they say, oh, I work hard, Mike, and I'm still not making it. Okay, well, you got to change course, right? You can't just do the same thing again, expect a different result. That's the definition of insanity. You know, okay, I'm working my ass off. That's not working. Okay, change course. What I got to do? Find a mentor. Tell me what I got to do. And a lot of times I found a mentor in one area. He wasn't the guy I wanted to follow in other areas of his life. Okay, let's just put it that way. He was a great businessman, not the father I wanted to be. You know, and the other mentors were a great dad, but they weren't making the money I wanted to be, or they didn't have the spiritual life that I wanted. So it's important also to find a mentor in different areas of your life that you can be, and not just follow one person blindly. So I'm starting to ramble, and I apologize for that, but that was a long answer to your really short question.
No, excuse me. It was good because you're teaching people like that's underdogs, like what you have to go through business. Like everything you're saying, I'm sitting here listening, like being a student and listening to what you're saying, because you weren't wrong. Like it's gonna be hard. Like you're gonna have moments where you got to start over, and I think that's where some people, like you said, like you got a job, you don't like the job, but you keep going to the job, or you go to another job that pays just a little bit more, but it's the same kind of job. It's like, all right, take a risk and do something different. But what I loved is he's like, all right, honey, we going back to the crib, we going back to your hometown, we about to, I'm about to do this, and this. And none of that happened. It was like, okay, what the heck am I supposed to do? And you got a mentor. People don't get that. You have to get somebody that's where you need to be and winning in that area. And like you said, you got to have different mentors in different areas. I have different mentors in different areas. Like some people that don't look like me, some people that look like me, some might be a woman in the area. It's just all different people, and they're winning and they're successful in that area, and they're helping me be successful in those areas. Because like you said, you might have a financial guy, but he's not a great dad or a great husband. Thanks for helping me with the money part, but I'm gonna get some advice over here from my buddy over here, or even like with the spiritual. Like you gotta have the right person with that. And when you're get around winners, that's when you start winning. Like you said in a 2-year span, you got around a winner. You seen, all right, hero gonna rise. All right, I'm gonna do exactly what he's doing, and you start winning because they give you the blueprint. I seen a video with Mike Tyson. He was like, you get around people that's winning, and you do exactly what they're doing, their lifestyle, whatever they're doing in that area, you do it, and then you'll start winning. And it's easier to do what's not right. Like you said, you got to do stuff that's the right thing to do, but it's easier to do the bad habits. It's easier to turn on the TV and watch some TV. It's easy to eat bad if you're supposed to be eating healthy. It's always easier to do the bad things, but it's worth it when you do the right things.
Yeah, and I also noticed, and you notice this too. I'm sure when people ask you for advice now, it's always the things that you need to do are not always comfortable. They're not always easy, right? You got to step outside of your comfort zone, right? In order for you to have the things you never had, you got to do the things you never did. So I've had people come to me and ask me, now that I've reached a certain level of success, and say, okay, just tell me what to do. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. And sometimes I call them ask calls, because they ask and I tell them, but they don't do it anyway. And they'll say, why am I not winning? Well, did you do this? No. Well, then you're an asshole, right? You're asking, but you're not doing what I'm telling you to do. Or they'll say, I call them yeah buts, right? And I'll say, well, you need to do this, this, and that. They go, yeah, but this. Well, if you're going to question me, then why are you asking? I told you what you need to do. I'm telling you because I've done it. And I was never an asshole. I was never a yeah but. When I asked them what I have to do, I said, just tell me what to do. They told me. I said, boom. I got it done faster than they asked me to. And I'd come back and say, okay, what's next? Well, you're supposed to do this, that's done. What's next? Tell me what to do. Put me in, coach. Just let me do it. I'll figure out a way. And if I have questions, I'll ask. But when you tell me the answers, I'm gonna listen, and I'm going to follow those rules. But that's why it's so important to get the right ones, right? So the right mentors. I remember one guy was great at making money, and I said, okay, now I'm starting to make some money. I'm not making what you're making, but I'm making some money. So what do you do with your money? Where do you invest it? And he was very honest. He said, I don't invest at all. I spend it all. I said, what? You're kidding, right? He goes, no, I spend it all. I just have a philosophy that I'm just going to keep making it. I go, whoa, I'm not following that guy when it comes to finance, right? So I said, okay, I got another guy for finance. I went to another guy, and he said, I think it was $1,000 a month away. And then, and he told me what he invested it in. And then I found another guy, and he said, I invest $100 a day or whatever it was. And I said, okay. So the key to investing then is constant and compounding. You got to get that compounding working for you. So I started to learn about that stuff. But I also, like I said, I learned who not to take mentorship, take counsel from, and who to take it from.
Yeah, definitely. And then, because sometimes, like, I had a person, like, he was like, yeah, you can make this, but I wasn't the man that I needed to be. Like, I was still, I mean, I was a man, but I was young. I think I was like almost 30 or about 30. And it was like, I didn't know how to be a man. I had just had a son. I'm like, okay, I got to be a dad. But then it was like having my son kind of woke me up. It was like, it's a little more out there for me to do than just go to a job. And like you said, like you can be living good, but you understand that there's great out there. You're better. You have more potential. You're worth more than where you're at. Like I teach. I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I'm like sometimes I just look at them people like y'all just don't know who y'all talking to. Like I try not to have that attitude, or I don't say it to them, but I'm like, man, I'm worth way more than this job. This is just part of my journey because I got to learn how to be able to teach when you're speaking. And if you can teach 5-year-olds, you can teach anybody because trust me, it's not the easiest thing to do. But I had to learn that through the process, and you learn different things through your journey that help you on the way. But it's like, why am I doing this? But then you understand why you're doing it, and then you add on to what you already know because you've been through no's when you were 15. Oh, can I cut your grass? No, you can cut my grass. No, you heard those no's at an early age. So as you're going through, you can hear a no. You can hear the business, has isn't doing good this month or whatever the case may be. But then you got each time I've listened to each business, you got smarter. Okay, I'm making good money. Let me invest. How can I make more money while it's sitting over here rather than me listen to this guy? I got a family, a wife, and kids. Okay, let me just go spend this money. Well, honey, I ain't got the mortgage this month because last month we spent it all. No, that's not the smart thing to do. And sometimes we don't do what someone said. Like when you were what you say, asshole. I was an asshole. Like I ask all the questions, have all this information, but never do nothing. And I'm
Right.
like, well, why am I not winning? Because you're not doing what these people that are winning told you to do. And once you start doing it, you're like, oh, okay, oh wow, oh, okay, you're getting the results because you're doing something different. Like I started waking up at like 5 in the morning. I was never like a morning person, but I always heard successful people get up earlier than everybody else, get up earlier than everybody else. And when I did and I was doing what I needed to, like the day was way much better because I was doing exactly what they said. Or this is the big one people don't want to do. When somebody say something about an invoice or a payment, when you got to do coaching, when you got to invest in business, like you don't got to go to school, you might invest in a course or whatever. You're always like, oh, but I got these bills. Okay, you got them bills, but you spend money at the grocery store that you didn't need to. You go here and you go out with your buddies, and then you're like, oh, well, I don't got this money. But if you add up all the bullshit that you did, you're like, oh, I really got the money. And that it took me to realize that, like, I really got the money. Let me stop playing and invest in myself and take this risk. The risk people don't want to take that risk. That's
Right.
the biggest thing in entrepreneurship and business and in life. You don't want to take the risk of sometimes in a relationship. Take the risk of saying, "Hey, this just ain't going right. All right, honey, let's end this. This ain't going right. It ain't been going right for years." But you have to keep pushing, like you said. You never give up. So you got the business. You got your family. You move. You're starting to be successful. What's the next step after that? After everything's going right, do you get another hiccup in the road, or do you just take that pivot to the next business?
I wish it was just a hiccup. It's more like life support. Um, yeah. So you talk about rags to riches. Mine was rags to riches to rags to riches to rags because it's all like you said about risk. And I fully believe good is the enemy of great when things are going good. And don't get me wrong, I looking back because you should learn something from every failure, right? Or every lesson, right? Not a failure if you learn something from it, but um, there were times where I took too big of a risk, and now I understand that. So now my risk tolerance is a little lower. So yes, when I do take a risk, it's still going to be to get to the next level, but it's not betting the ranch anymore, right? It's not putting it all on black. It's not my style anymore. I've learned from my mistakes because things did go very well with the financial company, and then I made a move to go to another company, and that company went under. And the money that I had invested was now gone. So I was literally again, after I think that time it was 14 years building that company, back to being dead broke.
Mm.
So now here I am again starting over. And I'm like, what am I trying to do? But they say God will teach you will give you the same lesson to learn until you finally learn it, right? So you have to look back and say, okay, what am I supposed to be learning here if I'm encountering the same mistakes over and over again, or the same and not having the success over and over? What am I trying? What does he want me to learn? Um, so I try and do that often too, is look back and say, okay, what are the lessons to learn from this? And so I don't repeat them, right? So then I got into software. Somebody had brought, I met a programmer who was really good at what he did, just creating software programs. And the system we used to run in my financial company was doing seminars. So I would do 4 or 5 seminars a week. And I was on my way to do yet another seminar, and I'm driving on the freeway. And when I'm doing the seminars, I'm in front of the room, and when you talk about, and you do this from public speaking, when you talk about certain subjects, some people's eyes light up, and you talk about, but then the rest of the room goes dead. You switch subjects, the eyes that were lit up now go dead, and these light up because, of course, everyone is interested in different things. So I'm driving to the seminar. I said, well, I wish there were a way that I didn't have to be live doing these seminars, because then I could scale it faster. But more importantly, I don't want to send them a video. I wish there was a way for them to choose what they wanted to see. And they get to pick what they're interested in. They're asking questions, answering questions in some type of a video-like thing, but it can't be a video because it's got to be interactive and stuff. So anyway, I pulled over. I got this idea, and I pulled over on the side of the road, called that programmer friend of mine, and I said, hey, can we create a system where if I just send somebody a presentation, and I want it to have their name in it already, but I want them to be able to choose the topics they want to learn about. Can we do that? And he's like, well, I think we can. I said, but I also want it to be able to do calculations and this and that. I just kept on running it. We just started dreaming. And he's like, yeah, I think you can do that. I think we can do that. And so we built this software system, and it's called I Decide. And at that time, I built it just for me to use in the financial industry. And then a friend of mine who was on a whole separate industry saw it, and he said, well, I want to use that. How do I use that for my company? So I sold it to him, so let him license it. And I said, well, if he needs it and I need it, a lot of people must need it. Again, back to the problem solving, right? Like the limousine company, like the landscaping. Then I started, and more businesses wanted to use it, and it just took off. And I eventually said, okay, I got to make a choice between the financial and this. This is doing much better. And that was 5 years ago, and that's called I Decide Interactive. And that's been going fantastic. And now we just built another version of the software where anybody can go build their own interactive presentation. We're just launching that now. So it's just been a constant learning process, a constant, rags to riches to rags to riches to rags. But the goal, but like Mark Cuban says, my favorite quote ever, Eric, is what he says, in business, you only have to be right once. That's it. You could fail 20 times, but if you're right once, boom, nobody remembers the 20 times you failed, right? Thankfully, I had a couple of wins along the way, but yeah, it's just a matter of finding what people need, what problem you can solve, and what you're interested in. I've always been interested in technology, so it was a good fit. But I've heard people say, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Well, not necessarily true, right? If I love making widgets and nobody wants the widgets, I'm going to be broke, right? So the key is to find something you love that you're able to make money at and that you're good at, right? Those 3 things are what's required. Because if one of those is missing, the formula is incomplete, right? I like to sing. Doesn't mean I can make money at it. Nobody's paying me to sing, and you would pay me not to sing, right? I've got to be able to do it well. I've got to enjoy it, and I got to be able to make money at it. A technology space fit. If I look back at the businesses that did work for me, most of them were those 3 things. And then it still doesn't guarantee you're going to succeed, right? But again, when you fail, just get your ass up and do it, man. And know that eventually it's going to win. And this is the thing I see, Eric, all the time. You do too, I'm sure. You see people who are going through hard times, but then they stop there. They struggle, they hit some struggles, and they think, well, I guess I'm not supposed to be doing this. No, you're supposed to be going through what you're going through, but you're supposed to go through it, right? People say, well, I'm going through hell. Well, then go through hell. Don't stay in hell. Right? Yeah. But the thing is, I'm going through hell. Get through it fast. work your way out of it. And the size of your opponent is what makes it great. If you look at Rocky, if Rocky were fighting a little puny little punk, him winning is no great story.
Yeah.
The fact that he's fighting against someone who's bigger and better and stronger, that's what makes it so good. That's because the underdog, people root for the underdog, right?
Yep.
So the fact that I went bankrupt and came back, that's the story, right? That's what people want to hear. That's the juice of your life. That's what I enjoy telling my kids, and I will one day tell my grandkids, and I won't hide that from them. I won't try and sugarcoat it to make me look like some kind of hero, right? Like an Instagram kind of guy. No, you're going to go through hard times, but you get your ass up and you go to work and you overcome it, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yep. I love that. One thing that I heard you say, the question before this one, and I've heard you say it a few times, is you come up with an idea and you go and write it down and you go and do it. A lot of people, myself included, I was listening to somebody earlier, and he was like, when you have an idea, write it down, execute fast. Like, you're writing your idea down and you're like, all right, boom, I'm gonna make this call. Let me call my guy. Hey, can we do this, this, and that? And it's like every time you came up with an idea, you did that idea right away. Instead of like, oh, I'm gonna do this idea and you didn't do nothing with it. So a lot of people that are in that place that of hell or struggle or whatever name you want to put on it, they have an idea. They just don't want to execute it because they're scared. They're scared to fail. But when you fail, you're not really failing. You learn a lesson. If you ask anybody that's a winner, how did they become a winner? They had to lose first. Nobody just won even the people, like, even if you look at sports, like Michael Jordan, okay, he didn't lose in the finals, but he lost. And he had to learn from those losses before he made the playoff run. Okay, how can I get past the Pistons? Because they beat my ass. Like, I don't know what the heck to do. Like, what are we supposed to do? And it took him years. Then he beat the Lakers. Then he went on to beat other teams. And it's like, you have to lose. You have to get defeated, but get back up. Like it made so much sense with the Rocky thing. Like, if Rocky was fighting me, I'm 5'7", 140. That ain't going to do nothing for Rocky. That's going to be like, oh, you're supposed to win that. But
nobody's even clapping, right? They don't even care. They're going to walk out.
But he's fighting Dragic, and it's like, oh, who is this? This is all muscle. Like, how is this a robot? And he beats him. And it's like, because people want to hear that. And I'm the same way with my kids. I don't sugarcoat it. I tell them all the bad stuff I did, everything, like, because I want them to understand it's okay. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to go through stuff. But look, I've went through some of the stuff you're going to go through. You don't got to go through that. And then you're leaving a legacy for your children because you know how to run multiple types of business. It don't matter kind of what field. You like, hey, if it's a business there and I feel the love for it, I'm going to try it out. And you're able to do it because you have those things. Like you said, you could love something, but it's like people love to play basketball in the rec league. You're not making no money. Every weekend you go into the rec league, but let you get injured in the rec league and you can't go to work. What's then? So you have to do something you love and you have to like be able to make money off of it. Like with podcasting, I can't just be like, oh, I like podcasting. Hey, at some point it was like, I need to be making some money. Something got to come through here, because if you're doing something you love and you're not making money, it's just a hobby.
That's it. And that's okay to have hobbies, right? But don't be delusional and think, okay, this one day is going to pay the bills. So like you say, if you're going to the rec center on the weekends just as a hobby to blow off steam, get some exercise, that's fine. But if you're 5'7", don't think, well, one day I'm playing for the NBA. Well, probably not, right?
Yeah.
So it's just that be smart enough to know the difference. Yeah. And if you can't do everything that needs to be done, that's okay too, because that stops a lot of people too. They say, well, the same thing with the software company. I don't know how to program the software. I don't know how to do graphic design, but I can find the people who do those things, right? So, but those people aren't going to get on board unless you have a well thought out plan of execution, right? Because it's not only about having the idea, it's okay, how do we execute? If you have a plan and the execution figured out, then you could find investors, you could find other people to come in as partners. I've seen that too, where people come up to me with an idea and they'll say, well, this is a great idea. I said, well, how much does it cost to make that product? I don't know yet. How much do you sell that for? What is your margin going to be? What's your profit going to be? How are you going to sell it? Well, I don't know. I just know it's a great idea. Well, great idea isn't anything. You need the rest of that. Me just putting the concept on paper for the nightclub was one thing, but the investor is not going to say, okay, I'm in based on a piece of paper. Like you say, he wants to know, okay, what's it going to cost to get open? What are the monthly costs? What are the recurring costs? What's your payroll going to be? How many customers do we need to serve a month to break even, or per night to break even? And then we say, okay, well, we need 50 people a night to walk through the door and buy 2 drinks each, and we're making this much per month. Okay, that's totally doable, isn't it? I said, I think we could do 10 times that. All right, let's do it. Boom. So yeah, all the stuff goes into it, but I just don't like to see people, especially since, you mentioned this might be airing at the beginning of the year. People have ideas, they're going to make the next year different. They're going to make it better. This is when they make their move. But the gym is always packed in January, right? And then in February, it's empty again because people realize it's hard. So my message to people that I try and get across all the time is expect it to be hard. It's freaking, don't watch the Instagram people. It's going to be freaking hard. I'm telling you that now. But so is being broke. So is dying without fulfilling your destiny. So is looking back when you're on your deathbed with all those regrets. That's hard too. That's way harder in my opinion. But just think about how awesome it will be when you overcome the hard, when you get through hell and you win. And now you can go back to all those people, the haters, and say, see what happened? See what happened? I did it. I won. And you can look at your loved ones and say, I've made it through. And, and now people are being helped because of what I did. People are being served, and my kids are now proud of me, and the bills are paid, and I'm vacationing, and I'm doing the things that I dreamed of doing, and I'm giving money to my church or my charities, and you're having an impact on the world.
Yeah.
That's the juice, man. That's the juice. I've got a weird thing that I think of that drives me. It's I picture that when I die, God and whoever you believe in, but God is going to take me to a place. It's almost like those storage units, and He's going to lift a door, and in there is a life. And it's going to have an amazing, trips and life and all this incredible life. And I'm going to go, man, God, whose life was that? That's an unbelievable life. And He's going to go, that was supposed to be yours, but you gave up on it. That's what's planned for you, and you gave up on it. And I would be like, oh man, because all we get is a one shot, right? So I don't want that to happen. That's kind of a weird thing to think of, I guess. But
no, because I think to myself, I'm like, man, I hope, because you never know how nowadays people pass away any kind of old way. And I'm like, man, I hope I don't pass away before I get to do what I'm supposed to do.
Right. I'm not done yet. I'm not done.
I want to do everything that I'm supposed to do before I go. I don't want to be like that's almost like that. Like, dang, I was supposed to go there. I was supposed to do that. And because I gave up or because I didn't do what I was supposed to. We all know what we're supposed to do. We all know the things that we should do. It's just like kids. Kids know what they're supposed to do. You're supposed to do your chores, or you can't go outside, or you can't do this, but they don't for whatever reason. But like you said, it's hard. Anything that's worth it is going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. Like if it was easy, we all be able to do it. But everything's hard. Being broke is hard. So if you're going after the money, like that's going to be hard, but being broke's hard. So at least try to go after something, at least accomplish something to be like, okay, I'm glad. But a lot of people don't realize it's the process. It's the journey. It ain't about the rewards. It's about the lessons you learn, the person you became, the relationships you built with people, and like it's the process. Like you can't really like, oh yeah, I did this, because you've won. Like you said, you went from rags to riches, rags to riches, rags to riches. So you've won and you've lost. You won, you lost. But if you would have just been like, oh, I won, woohoo, and then you could have been like, oh, I lost, let me just give up. No, I lost before. Let me keep going. Sometimes when you win and then you lose for the first time, you don't know what the hell to do. But you just keep going. You keep going. You keep it going. It's like the Golden State Warriors. They was on the road. Injuries happen. Like for 2 years, they just boom. They get healthy. boom, they back to winning. They didn't give up. They didn't say, oh, well, let's trade Draymond. He ain't really doing this. Well, Clay, he been out 2 years straight. Let's try to get somebody else for him. No, they waited and they regrouped and they did the stuff that they needed to win again. And that's just how life is. Like, you're gonna lose, you're gonna fail, you're gonna get punched in the mouth. Life gonna beat your ass, and you gotta get up and say, all right, cool, I'm good. Let's go. You gotta swing back. If you don't swing back, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I'm always swinging back at life. Like, life not gonna bully me. Like, bullies aren't just people. Bullies aren't just like on Instagram or social media. Bullies is life. Life will bully you and push you in the corner, and you like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And that's how you become a successful underdog. You punch back. You overcome all that happens to you, because people don't realize you've overcame something way worse than what you're going to overcome that you're going through right now. So you've already overcame it. You just don't know it until it resonates in your head, or you wait till you're on the last string and you're like, okay, well, let me try something different. Don't wait till you're on that last string. Get punched in the mouth, punch back, and keep going. So I usually ask for like 3 tips, but I promise you, you've been dropping gems, tips all through here. Like, this conversation was good. Like, definitely helped me out. It definitely like woke me up in some areas. Like, all right, I need to go write this stuff down now. Like, as soon as we get off here, like, go write it down. So if I do run into somebody that's an investor, or I run into somebody where I need the help in certain areas, they like, what's the vision for you? Oh, okay, this is what I want. This is what, because that makes so much sense. Because somebody say I need a videographer, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. All right, what? No, okay, you just telling me you got a plan for this? When you expect? How much money do we got? Space? Do we got a studio? Where we shooting at? All this different stuff, and it's like, I gotta have that down, because you never know when that opportunity is gonna come. So I'm just gonna ask you for a quote, even though you gave a quote earlier. You only gotta get it right once. But what is a quote that you can give somebody that's an entrepreneur? They starting off. They like, I don't know what the hell I thought I was doing. I'm ready to give up. What's a quote that you can think of?
Well, like you said, we were kind of talking about it. We went off on so many different tangents today, and I apologize if that wasn't the point of the talk today. But to me, the quote would be, you don't have to go it alone, right? Now, especially with the internet, you can find people are willing to help. But it's funny how people just don't ask. When I people think I'm so busy, they think, oh man, everybody must be calling you. Nobody calls because they think I'm too busy, right? So the people that could be your mentor probably will be. Ask. And if they say no, that's okay too. Go to another one. So definitely find a mentor, find somebody who can help you get to where you want to be. You don't have to do it alone. And then number 2, if you ask my kids what my famous quote is, it's on my license plate on one of my cars, and it's never give up. If you said to my kids, what does your dad always say? They go, oh, never give up. If we hear one more time, we're going to die. That's it. Never give up. Like you said, no matter how many times you get punched, you're going to get punched. You're going to get kicked. It's going to be hard. So what? Do it anyway. What's your alternative? What's the other option? Failure? Going paycheck to paycheck, buried in debt, not living your dreams, not seeing the world. I mean, not giving back and helping other causes and people. I mean, just the things you can do with success. It's not all about money. People say, well, you're just a greedy. No, money makes a good person better, right? Because you can do amazing things with money. You don't have to keep it. Give it all away if you want to. But just think of all the people and the lives you can touch as a successful person versus someone who doesn't have those resources. So, and hopefully what you're doing to gain those resources helps people also, right? That's the benefit. I mean, hopefully you're not doing something that's going to hurt people to make money, because that's not the point here either, right? So, yeah, that would be find a mentor. You don't have to do it alone, and never give up. Again, long answer, short question.
Yeah. It was you broke it down though. Those are simple things. You don't got to do it alone. Like, and say it in the Bible. Like, you're not supposed to do it alone. It's supposed to be at least 2. So I love that. How can people reach you? And then how can people reach you?
Yeah, I'm not big on social media yet, but they're telling me I have to be. So for now, just go to my website, mikeboccia.com, and you can just sign up for updates on when I'm speaking and all those things. And then once I do get all the social media channels up and running and populated, we'll let you know there too.
Yeah, because I definitely was looking. I was like, all right, buddy don't really got no no social media like that. I was like, okay, all right,
Yeah,
cool.
trying to
Uh
trying to fight it, but there's no fighting it these days. It can
yeah,
actually be a good way to
but
communicate.
and that's another thing. You can be successful and don't have to be on social media.
Yeah,
People, you don't gotta be on social media. A lot of the success ain't on social media. They just put the clips together and make it look sexy for you. But
that's
before we get out of here, any closing words?
No, just I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the fact that you talk about underdogs, because I think too many people nowadays, like you said, on social media and in our world in general, they want to make themselves appear to be something they're not. And that makes people who are really fighting a fight feel discouraged or like they can't make it. And that's a bunch of bull. People, they're not what they seem. I see too many people buying things they can't afford with money they don't have to impress people they don't know. What doesn't make sense to me, but they're all about the image. And don't let other people's image or their perceived image make you feel any less than. You just fight your own fight, stay focused on what you want to accomplish, and play your game, and you win. Just forget about them. It's going to be hard. We know that. We talked about that. That's okay. Let's go kick some ass.
And on that note, peace, one love.